Recently, I was watching what was happening in Naruk at Suswa, around Suswa, where we had some goats were hit by a vehicle at night, and then the gentleman who hit the sheep, the goats, dashed off and left. Then the police came after hearing the incident. They took the goats and took them to the bush. So the locals there were agitated. The Maasais there were agitated. They felt bad that how do you touch our animals and then do that instead of following the due course process of the law. You decide to take them to the forest and dump them there. You remove them from the road. So they were agitated and they were demonstrating. So the police came in to solve the issue. In the process, I think the police officers were overwhelmed and now they left. There's one police officer who remained behind to try and calm the crowd. Then the crowd somehow became rude to this police officer. I mean, they decided to go after this police officer. One thing that happens that there's a man who really tried to stop the police officer, the crowd. It was a Maasai and looked like to be an elder. He was trying to stop them not to attack the police officer, but they overwhelmed him as well. So the police officer tried to rush off. In the process of rushing, one youth or maybe one person there took maybe some knife, panga, or some sharp object and cut literally the hand of a police officer until it fell apart, completely removed it off. Until when the other police officers came to rescue him, they picked the police officer and placed him in the car. At the same time, took what we call the hand and also accompanied the police officer. So the police officer was simply going to lose his hand entirely because first I saw unprofessionalism there where they left him alone. They left him and they went. That was very wrong. Secondly, and I think the police officer should really be held accountable for that. Secondly, I am looking at the kind of an incident of that where the Kenyans are angry with anyone who is associated with the government. Angry, seriously. An incident where Kenyans are they're taking the law into their hands simply because they don't have any trust with the government, or maybe probably the government disappoints them whenever they expect something to be done right. Because if the police officers could not have taken the sheep to the forest and maybe to a bush and then simply have the vehicle that did the accident to get apprehended, if that could have happened as we speak today, that one could not have happened. The demonstrations could not have been there. The people could have been satisfied at least something has been done. Now there's no compensation, and then you literally decide to go and cool the temperatures there without having a proper solution to such kind of incidences. As if that's not enough. We've all seen where abductions are almost occurring, like the last one we had in Mashata, where we had a billionaire, maybe a rich tycoon from there was being arrested, and the public literally intervened and the abductors had to flee from that place. And the incident occurred in Nakuru. Still, the public stopped abduction. They're almost going for these people, but they had to escape. So the fact remains that Kenyans, as we speak today, they completely don't want anything to do with government, or they're disappointed in government. Now, one simple touching thing that I saw yesterday when I was going through some clips on TikTok looking for what to talk about here on this channel here, because we gather information across, I realized that there was a funeral that was at Matungu. And in this funeral, as you've watched the video there, Rashid Echesa was there. He came, the moment he arrived, you see how he was received. Now, I want you to see this clip. You can see the celebrations, and now you've seen the celebrations, now you've seen the kind of chaos that started. In a funeral where people should be openly, be at least consoled at that point. But people decide to literally bring chaos there, hire goons to come and do destruction. Now, one thing that touched me is this. As people were leaving the funeral, there were some young men who were on a motorbike. I think the video was pulled down from TikTok. These young men, this was a motorbike rider and two young men behind him. And these young men, they were told to come down as the motorbike guy was told to go. Then they were asked, "Who are you? Where are you from? What have you come to do here?" As they were explaining themselves, I saw the people actually, the young men who were asking them these questions, were holding some rungus, huge rungus. So they were ready to beat them. Before they did anything, the police simply came, the police car passed by, stopped slightly, and proceeded and went. Actually, it stopped because of the jam that was there. And then they proceeded and just went. So the police left those guys. The guys who had gotten out of the motorbike, one tried to escape, they started beating him. And I'm telling you, they were holding those jembe rods. They were hitting them hard, head anywhere, beating them like goats or maybe dogs. Eventually, one was given time after being beaten to testify, and here is what he was saying.
Unaitwa nani?
Mimi naitwa Felix Amutala.
Kutoka wapi?
Kutoka Shinyalu.
Umepatikanaje huku?
Tuliambiwa na gavana Barasa tukuja tumprotect huko kuna matanga.
Mlikuja watu wangapi hapa?
Tukuja probox 6.
Probox 6. Na hizi visu umepatikanaje nazo?
Tuliambiwa kila mtu apepe kisu.
Na hizi visu sio umedunga nazo watu wangapi?
Watu wawili, lakini naomba watu wa Mumia siwanisamehe.
So in a nutshell, we have reached at a level where politicians do what they want and they don't care who suffers, who dies, what happens to anyone. They only want to be protected. And if it is true this young man was sent by Fernandez Baraza, it is completely insane. But we know it's not the only one. It's not the only one who sought protection. There were many others who were there. We all know very well that other politicians were also involved in the case, because they could not fight themselves. Definitely the opponents were also there with their own guns. So when all this were happening, Kenyans were there watching, of course. But how is it that we are taking the law into our hands, allowing this kind of things happening? The politicians driving this country to a hole. Our president. This is not a good picture that is happening on the ground. Please let the law, the police officers do their work. Let the police officers do their work. Now, recently, I also watched a scenario where we had a football fan get into the field. I think he was harassing either referee or a linesman, almost beating and slapping, actually slapped him in front of cameras, in front of the police officers. And at some point, even jumped to kick, I think, the referee. Then he hit a lady who is a police officer until she fell down. This lady was forced to come up with his kirauni and start beating this gentleman. Though he was a huge guy, looked like he's a guy from the gym. The guy did not stop there. After walking out of the pitch, he went still somewhere again to still cause chaos. For heaven's sake, someone doing that openly in front of cameras, in front of the police, I am not sure whether he's arrested. Putting the lives of our football officials, soccer officials in danger, setting a bad example whereby next time, what do we expect now? Fans to get in the field and fight. That was very wrong. I've just done these videos here to show my sincere disappointment and dissatisfaction with what is happening in government, because we openly need things to change. If this is how things are going to happen, chaos right, left, and center, probably going forward, it will be terrible. My name is Abel Mokwa. Let me see your opinion in the comment section.